Hello and welcome to the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. My name is Cynthia Pacheco, and I'm on a mission to help online businesses step out of digital overwhelm and step into their creative potential. This podcast is all about helping women get more in tune with the analytics and SEO side of their business without the digital burnout. Get more information about the podcast at digimorphs.com. Hello, welcome. This is the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast, episode number 83, and it's birthday week. You know that extra special feeling you get when it's your birthday? I'm like wondering where that comes from, because for me, it's not about the presents. I mean, getting lots of messages from people is fun, but there's just something I feel like internally that we generate when it's our birthday that just makes us feel special, you know, that like special sparkly birthday feeling. So I remember in my old office, this is very Argentine. So for everybody's birthday, and we weren't a very big office, but I'm sure in big offices teams do this too. So everybody would get a birthday cake. And you would get a happy birthday song in the lunchroom, either at lunchtime or in the afternoon at tea time. Yes, we have tea time here. And so I remember the first couple of years, it was very awkward for me. I was like, I can't handle this. This is like too random and too much attention. Like everybody's singing me happy birthday. But then over time, I kind of started to enjoy it. And it just was nice, you know. It was really nice. So if you have any birthdays coming up, sing that person happy birthday. They will like it, even if they're an adult. So today I have a really special episode with Shaina Longstreet. I just loved interviewing Shaina because she was just so chill. You know, I came at this whole Instagram topic with a lot of intention, and that's very noble. But she reminded me that having fun can actually be very productive. And just not taking things so seriously with so much structure is also fine. It can work. That can work in business. Shaina is a design specialist with a passion for big dreams, strategic and consistent visuals, and making connections. She has an amazing Instagram feed, by the way. And she's really on a mission to empower female visionary entrepreneurs grow profitable and sustainable businesses while on autopilot with beautiful brands and Squarespace websites. So she shares in this interview her wisdom on Instagram, how to interact with other people in meaningful ways. And she has some really good tips, guys. Like, I really learned a lot from talking to her. We also get into the algorithm, how she uses mood boards, and what specific metrics you need to be tracking in Instagram. So this is very Shaina. She gave me a little challenge. You know, she kind of challenged me right in the middle of the episode, kind of flipped the script. And so I invite you to also join in on this challenge. So you can go ahead and listen to the episode to know what the challenge is. But if you want to join in on my challenge or our challenge, go to my Instagram, Digimorphs, and find the post for episode 83. And just let me know that you're trying out the challenge. So I'm kind of excited. So without further ado, here's the episode with Shaina. Enjoy. Hey, Shaina, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm so excited to have you on my podcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So before we kind of dive into some questions, introduce myself to your audience, or to my audience, maybe your audience too. Maybe they're listening.
So this is where I talk about myself. Okay.
Yes.
So my name is Shaina, and my business is called Your Ampersand Studio. I'm a branding and Squarespace website designer, and I have been online since the early dark ages of blogging and the internet. And so I've kind of grown and morphed in my skill and love of everything online over the last few years. And I'm excited today to talk a little bit about Instagram and what I love about it and how you can utilize it for your business.
I'm also excited because, I mean, Instagram, I've had kind of a, I'd say it's more love than hate with Instagram. I definitely love Instagram. I think the thing I love about Instagram is you have access to anybody for free
So
at any
true.
time. And
So
let's
true.
say like you don't have a budget in your business, like you're zero budget. You just open Instagram and there's like tons of information about your ideal audience, about learning things, about just everything, right? And you can
Yeah, it's an amazing
access,
free resource.
yes, you can access high end people and learn from them for free.
You can send
Um,
them direct messages. It's
oh my
crazy.
God. Yeah. So I think that's such a powerful tool. And at the same time, it can be very overwhelming because there is so many things you can do with it. And some people make it look so effortless, like you. They just like just doing it in a way. I think the toughest thing for me has been making my posts like vulnerable and personal, but at the same time tying that in with my business, right? So that's always like something I'm asking myself because I can talk about my dogs and my cats all day long, but I'm like, well, what does this have to do with my business? So
Yeah.
I think there are certain people who just naturally just know how to do that and then they teach the rest of us. So yeah, so just like kind of a question to kick it off, I'd love to know what your day-to-day digital routine looks like and kind of how you stay focused, which I think social media is, it's hard, right? We've all talked about
Yeah.
that, but tell us about
Yeah.
that. Let's start there.
Well, I think one thing that makes me a little different in my approach is that it's almost like the Instagram stuff is my mental break.
Huh, okay.
And because I just love it and enjoy it so much. So when you say routine, I think like I don't know if I actually have a set routine. It just kind of comes when it comes and I flow with it. I do use an app to keep everything organized. I use the Preview app is what it's called. And I love it because it was one of the first ones where you could easily reshare content from other people. So you just copy the link and then it automatically saves the image and uploads it. That's one of my favorite ways to interact with others on Instagram is to repost their content. So then it feels kind of like free advertising for them. And I
Yeah.
always link back and tag back and everything. And that's been ways that I've started some amazing conversations with other business owners on Instagram and made great relationships. So Preview app was one of the first ones that allowed you to do it. I think all of them do now, but so that's kind of why I chose that one in the beginning, and I've used it ever since. It lets
Cool.
you, just kind of pre-plan what your feed will look like in advance. And I'm a lover of branding and making sure everything is on brand. So knowing what your feed is going to look like as it goes along is really a powerful tool for me, because I want my feed to look cohesive altogether, but I also want people to be able to tell, oh, that post was from Shayna when they're just scrolling through their feed.
Right.
So those are a couple things I keep in mind when building out my content visually.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to the routine thing, I mean, if you don't need a routine, that's fine. I guess for me, it's just having, yeah, no, having a structure.
Right.
I also love to just look at Instagram for fun, but I guess when it comes to contributing to that conversation, it's a little bit of a different intention.
True.
And it's one of those things like if I don't really plan it, it's not going to get done, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think there are other people who base their marketing very much around Instagram and it's really intensely there. But for
Hmm.
me, it's more like, okay, I just need to keep people updated with what's going on. And even that, I really struggle with at times.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, my goal is to post at least 3 times a week on Instagram, and sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. And I mean, maybe I should have more of a routine where I sit down on Monday and I say, okay, these are the 3 posts that I'd like to do this week. But it's just really not how my brain works. And I wish I had a better answer for you.
No, it's interesting because I think in my mind, I'm always like, how is it, how is this other person doing this? And
Yeah.
then, you just said, it's just something that comes naturally to you. And so I'm making such a big deal out of it. And then, you're just doing it naturally. So sometimes it's also about accepting that. Again, some people
Yeah.
there's different thresholds of digital or social media handling how much you can take in a day or how you look at
Yeah.
it every day.
And
And
it ebbs
there's,
and
yeah,
flows too for
totally.
everybody, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So kind of connecting into that, have you ever gotten like social media burnout, or is that like, are you like invincible? Are you like Superman and Superwoman?
Uh,
Uh,
I think I feel I feel like I would benefit from doing like a digital detox and taking a break from it all.
yeah.
But then I worry that if I get away from it that I won't want to go back. And
Why? Do you think you'll like realize how addictive
oh,
it is?
probably. I hadn't even considered that. But no, it just if I don't know, I think like my life would take a whole different trajectory if I
Yeah.
wasn't so focused.
Huh.
And not I don't know. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, maybe
It
it's where
scares
your
me to
community is,
yeah.
and I
Yeah,
know,
I mean, aside from in-person stuff, the bulk of my customers come from Instagram, and that's where I found my biz besties, like my friends are on there.
right,
So,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's again like for me, I just always think, wow, I'm alone a lot of the day, but I'm not alone because I'm watching all these others people on Instagram and I'm looking at their life and I'm learning stuff and I know about their trips and I'm sure that this happens to you. I always find it interesting when other people come up to me like in person and they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw that you did that trip," or "Congrats on that event you
Yes.
spoke at." And I'm like, this is strange. Like
How
they're
does this
watching.
stranger know this stuff about
Yeah.
me? Oh, yeah, I shared on Instagram.
But at the same time, it's just such a powerful tool. Again, like I can, speak my thoughts and, my whatever I need to get out there. Apart from my
Mhm.
business, I can also support a lot of other causes through Instagram.
Oh, yes.
And that's super powerful, right?
Yep.
Um,
And
but
by sharing your story, that you're making others who are stuck home alone by themselves all day feel a little less alone. And that's such a powerful motivator for me too.
yeah, of course. Yeah, there's some people I watch on Instagram that literally lift me up. Like they have a special
Yes.
energy and I just feel like you don't I mean, we know this, we're both visual, but a lot of people who take photographs of themselves for the first time, like those images have an energy, they have a vibe. When you are
Hmm.
intentional about your branding and about your photography, there's literally a vibe that is being going through the screen, right? And you feel that,
Yeah,
you really feel that. And I think
I
that,
completely agree.
yeah, the something like Instagram is a great way to find people you can connect with, right?
Hmm.
So I really loved what you said about like reposting other content. So have you done that with like people who don't even know you and you just like post their stuff and you're just like,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
awesome. That's
Yep,
cool.
definitely. And sometimes I'll just like find an image that looks cohesive with my stuff, with my branding and what I want to share, and it matches like a thought that I have that I want to post about. And so I love to do that too. Just go searching for people who are using the platform really well that I can then support and repost their images.
Do you do that with potential clients as well? Like people you're looking to either collaborate with or maybe could hire you or
You know what? Honestly, no, because if they need my help, they're probably not posting images that would work for me.
Right. Right, right. I guess I could work with another business though, maybe for
Yeah,
me if
so
I
like
wanted to.
partnerships and
Yeah.
yeah, collaborations, things like that for sure.
That's great. Do you have any other, like, do you do any other, like, secret tips for like getting leads? Because that's always the argument. Like I do search, I do SEO, and the social versus search conversation comes up a lot for me, because that, like, a lot of people are focused on social media, and I think it's great, but I also find it's easy to get diluted, and a lot of people don't know how to use Instagram like as a way to end up getting, people to convert. Obviously it depends on what you're selling. If you're selling a product, it's very different than selling a service, but from a high level, do you have any like strategies that, you could maybe pass along in terms of just really utilizing the tool in the best way? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that we all need to spend more time engaging with other people on the app than we spend worrying about how our own feed looks.
Right.
So if we circle back to the question about routine, right? So if you are somebody who has a set routine and you're spending, 3 hours on Monday to plan out your week's worth of content, are you then going to go spend 6 hours engaging on other people's content and having conversations and making connections and being of service? So just a question for reflection.
Yeah.
So that I found that has been really the biggest mindset shift that helped me grow my clientele coming from Instagram, is to go out there and have conversations and spend more time engaging than I spend actually planning and worrying about how things look.
Yeah. And I mean, this to me is, I don't know, it doesn't come naturally. Maybe it's just part of some introverted side of me, but I'm just always not sure like what to comment. I mean, it has to resonate with me to some extent, but I want to start commenting longer, and I'm just curious, do you have any like, are you just yourself? It's like, this is what I would say if I was in person with this person.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I don't have trouble with using my words.
Right. I noticed.
Like 3 paragraphs later, okay, Shaina, that might be an email, not an Instagram.
The comment. That's awesome. They're probably super happy because you comment so long.
Well, I do want to encourage people, and I feel like, people get so wrapped up in the numbers and the metrics of, my post only got 2 comments and 37 likes, So if I'm going to be one of those people that left one of those 2 comments, that's going to make an impression.
Right.
Yeah, and so then when they're thinking, oh, maybe I need a website designer. Oh, I remember that one girl, Shaina, she left a really great comment.
Totally.
So then they'll come back to me. Right. So that's been really impactful for me. And as far as thinking about types of comments to leave, just try and connect it to some part of your own story, whether your business story or your personal story. Or one thing I struggle with is I'm not a parent and I'm not planning on having children. And so that whole realm of, mommies and mommy bloggers and mompreneurs, however you say that, I struggle finding relational points with them, and seeing, like pictures of their kids and stuff. But I've got a dog, and I, weirdly always say that I'm a dog mom. And so
I do too.
Oh, good. We're both dog moms. and so I just try and, just some point of connection,
Yeah. I guess for me, I'm always like, okay, so there's this potential account that either would be a great client or a great collab or something. And then when I go to comment, I'm like, isn't there an ulterior motive here? Like, is this fake? But I'm sure there's like a balance of that, right? Because
absolutely,
at the end of the day, I am my business, but I am a human, right? And I could totally want to connect this person for my business in a human way.
Yes.
So,
and that's the beauty of Instagram, is it lets you do that.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just, this is great because I'm like way overcomplicating it, Cynthia. Like, just
you
keep
are,
it
Cynthia.
simple.
Just have fun with it. Just have fun with it.
Right. Have
so,
fun.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge you.
Oh no.
I'm going to challenge you to pick 3 people on Instagram. You can currently follow them or go out and search for new ones. But I want you, for the next 7 days in a row, go back and comment on one of their posts every day.
The same account? Isn't that like
Yep.
Instagram stalking?
No, not if they're posting regularly and you're just responding to every new post.
Okay, I'm down for it. I will do it. And anybody else who's listening can also follow the Shaina challenge. That's awesome.
And come at it from the direction of making a human connection, not necessarily a business connection. Right? It can turn into that, and that's awesome, but focus on making the human connections.
Yeah, and I think about, like, if I go to a networking event, I'm not going to go up to the first person and be like, hey, do you want to hire me? You know, like, it's a little bit, I at the end of the day, that's what I want. And, but there are a couple other steps that can come before that, right? Yeah. So it's just like that conversation. And it can be fun.
And we're not fooling anybody either.
Right.
You know, like, we all know why we're on the platform.
Right.
If we're a business owner running it for our business, you know?
Right, yeah.
So to find somebody who's taking an authentic, refreshing approach to forming connections and having real conversations, that's memorable.
Right.
That's going to stand out.
Right. So every day, one comment for three counts. Okay.
Yep.
I'm writing it down. Okay, so I'm all about data, and it's part of what I do in my own business. And so I'm always curious about data and social media, because I personally believe that data needs to be used in all parts of business. Just like we don't ignore our finances, we shouldn't ignore our site data, our social media data, because it can give us so much information about how we're doing. So how do you measure, what do you measure in Instagram for yourself and for your clients?
Engagement metrics are what I focus on. So that is likes, comments, and new accounts seeing your feed. So those are the 3 things that I focus on.
And you can get that all through like the Instagram Insights, right?
Yeah. Instagram Insights is a really powerful analytics tool. So as long as you are using Instagram as a business account, you have access to that. And then also the app that I use to plan out my feed. If you purchase a subscription, I think it's like $7.99 a month or something like that. It's got some super detailed analytics as far as what post from the last 7 days or the last month did the best. Then you can see, what's resonating with your audience and do more of those types of posts,
Right.
I also think it'll help you see which types of calls to action work best with your audience. So if you're asking like a yes or no question, or if you're asking them to share part of their story, you can work on training your audience to get used to responding to your posts, which then can continue to grow your engagement rates.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's so smart. And it's something that doesn't need to take a million years. It could just be something you do once a month and kind of take some notes and then use that going forward as you're planning out new content.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I just started doing a weekly CEO report, kind of like a brain dump of everything that's going on in my business. And the last question on there is what's my Instagram engagement rate this week? So I just started tracking it weekly. I have been for the last 4 years been tracking it monthly. So
engagement rate, that's also another metric that's directly inside of Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And is there like for example, for site traffic, everybody is always obsessed about bounce rate. And so I get people asking me like, what's the best bounce rate? But in site, it's kind of not so black and white. It depends on the page. Is it the same for engagement rate, or is there like a standard or a good engagement rate?
8% is like the market norm
Okay.
for online businesses. So,
Cool.
yeah,
That's great. That's good. Yeah. And
I'm running at about 10 to
oh, wow.
12% currently.
Of course you are.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I only just hit 2,500 followers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
but I'm not focused on that. I'm
right.
focused on, are the people who are following me or finding me actually, do they actually care about the content I'm sharing? Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why I mean, I don't do social media, but it always ends up coming up in my client conversations.
Right.
I said that like in a very annoying way, but I swear, like people are so obsessed with it.
Stop asking me about social media.
And so everybody's obsessed with followers, and I get it. It's like such a clear metric. It looks
Right.
like such a great way to measure success, but it is one of many other success measures, and you could have the biggest audience in a different country that don't even speak your language, and that wouldn't mean anything.
Because 10,000 followers who aren't buying anything from you, what purpose are they serving?
Exactly. Yeah. Totally.
You
Yeah.
know?
I'm interested that you actually also track likes, because I feel like like is such a kind of cheap metric, but
It is a little, yeah.
but I guess it's a good
Because
starting
but that's
point. Yeah.
yes, very true. And I feel like I've tracked it because when Instagram made the transition from just being like a place where you could edit your photos with some cool filters to a tool to use for business, that was kind of one of the first things. And people weren't trained back then to just subconsciously double tap on an image, you know?
Right.
So you're right, it is a little bit cheaper now, but it still factors into your engagement rate. So it's something to look at.
It's interesting. I feel like I've been online for a while, like you, like from the dark ages. But I also find in the last 5 years, I want to say, like Instagram in particular has evolved so much, and I feel honored to see that evolution again. Like I remember when Instagram stories came out, like what was that, like a year and a half ago? Like it wasn't even that long
It was
ago.
like 2 blinks ago. Who knows?
Oh my God. And now like stories has revolutionized, how we approach Instagram, and I love it.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's kind of cool. How do you feel about that? Like, does it make you nervous that it's just evolving so much, or are you like me and you're like, it's changing every day. Yay. Like more things to learn.
Yeah, I get excited. I really get excited. I'm totally one of those lifelong learner people. Like
Yeah.
high school was my glory days because I just love to learn and take things in, you know? So being an online entrepreneur kind of is like a great segue because there is always something new to learn. So it excites me when new things come out and things change. Yeah.
That's great, because I feel like most of our clients are like, oh no, it changed again, damn it.
You know, and speaking of things changing, everybody always talks about the algorithm, you know,
Right.
like in air quotes, right? About this dreaded thing that keeps changing and you just figure it out and then you have to whatever, change your strategy. But here's the thing. The algorithm isn't something that we should be scared of. We just need to approach it differently, because what it is, it's just a computer that you need to train.
Yeah.
It's not something we need to try and beat or something we need to be scared of. So just think of it like that. Like, we're going to train our dogs to learn how to sit, right? We can train the algorithm to show our content to the people that need to see it by how we're using the things available within the app. So just, I don't know. It upsets me, but
You get passionate about it. I like
I'm a
it.
little passionate about it. Yeah, because they're using it as an excuse, I think.
Yeah.
But really, it's just a chance to step up and learn something new and try some new strategies and figure how to make it work for you and your business and your followers, you know?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, it's not an enemy. It can be a friend. It is a friend, like it's just
I got a
about...
little sassy there. I'm sorry.
I love it. No. I get totally obsessed or like get on my high horse with the Google algorithm and about
Right.
SEO stuff. So it's great. It's good. It
Good.
means that you're really into it. So just kind of wrapping up. So what would be like one tip that you'd give someone like me, maybe, who's like freaking out about Instagram, taking it way too seriously, but
So
maybe
first, Cynthia, take a deep breath.
okay. I think it goes
Yes.
back to my like high school days where I didn't have any friends, and so it's
Oh,
like I want to go back and like relive that. Maybe that's where that comes from. Now life has become clearer.
it comes full circle.
Yeah.
It always comes full circle. Oh, that's funny. So, I mean, one thing we didn't talk about yet, which I think is part of what I love most about Instagram, is having consistent branding on that platform, because it's one of the biggest touch points for your business. And being consistent in your visuals is really the best way to build credibility for your business and to be recognizable, right? So when people see you leaving heartfelt comments on one account for the next 7 days, they're gonna recognize your profile picture every
Right.
time. And then when they go over and view your feed as a whole, it should make sense visually. So my favorite way to do this is to build a mood board, so that has, colors and fonts and the feel that you're going for with your brand. So then whenever you go to post, you ask yourself, would this image or would this graphic go on my mood board? Like, would it flow seamlessly? And if
Right.
it's yes, then sure, post it. But if not, and you hesitate, maybe find a different image.
Right. Yeah. So the mood board is the step before planning out the
Yeah.
feed.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
But that's a whole nother conversation we could have, girl.
Yeah, and you have like a mood board. Don't you have like a mood board like walkthrough or something on your site? Maybe.
I am working on a little class, actually.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's exciting. How did I know
Yeah.
that? I just like telepathic.
It's so funny because I'm literally diving into it this week, putting the content all together. So yeah, you've got a little telepathy going on there, hun.
Well, I'm looking
But
forward
yeah,
to
so
that.
it's gonna be about how to build the mood board in the first place, but then how to use it for your brand. Because I think that that's the part that people miss. Like they'll get a mood board or even like a brand style board from their designer, and they're like, okay, great, now what? Like how am I supposed to? What good
Right.
is this for me? So I'm excited to put that together and help people figure out how to use their mood board for their business after the fact too.
Totally. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited for that. Once you have that, let me know and I'll update the show notes with that.
Oh, perfect. Thank
But yeah, what's coming up? I mean, apart from the mood board stuff, what else would you like to share with my audience? Because you're awesome and you have lots of kind of exciting little things.
Oh, you're so kind. So my biggest thing is that I just relaunched my signature offering, which is called Website in a Week, where I take my clients through a really streamlined process to get all of the details for a full website compiled and then designed and launched within 7 days. And I mean, I've been doing this for a few years now. And so I've been able to work with a lot of clients and figure out, where things were dropping off in the process and where they were struggling to come up with content, and all of the things that usually stall a website project out like that. And I've been able to kind of reverse engineer the process and completely simplify it and streamline it and get it done in a week. And I'm loving it. And I would love to work with any of you guys that are listening. If you're looking to ditch the DIY and get your website functioning as the best 24/7 employee it can be, I'd love to work with you.
Yeah, and that's just amazing. Like it's a Squarespace site, right?
Yeah.
Just to clarify, but yeah, it's in 7 days. Like wow.
Well,
That's
I mean, I think so much of us that are in business, we probably started DIYing something,
Of course.
But then, because that, that's all we can afford.
Unless you start with lots of money, and that's great
right.
too. But
we had a grandma investor.
Yeah.
But once we're established and we, really get a handle on what we're offering, then it's time to come back to the website and make it do like all of the work that it can do on the back end to save you time, leaving you to do the work you love doing. I mean, even something as simple as, fielding questions, like if you have a really robust frequently asked questions on your website, think of how much time in your inbox you're saving yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that I think the website is one of those things I notice with my own clients too. It gets pushed to the bottom of the list so often because Absolutely. It's one of those things like, it's just so much work, and just thinking about it, people get like overwhelmed and then, but like you said, it's your 24/7 ultimate tool, right? And it's like the front of your house, you want it to look good. And the inside of your house. So if you're inviting your clients over and like the carpet's stained and like there's no furniture, people are like, okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah, definitely.
So just the fact that you could start it and finish it in 7 days just sounds amazing. And then you feel so good after, probably. I'm sure your clients are like ecstatic after.
Yeah. And it just really can boost your business, having something like that to share with your people on Instagram, for instance. Yeah. That can generate a lot of conversations and a lot of new clients coming in, just having that announcement even.
Totally. Wow. Okay. That's cool. All right. So I'll have all the links in the show notes to that, but, just say your site out loud and your Instagram handle too for people who want to start following you now.
Oh, thank you. It's your & studio for both.
All right. Awesome. Well, it was so nice talking to you, Shaina. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Hey, Cynthia here. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I make these episodes with a lot of love and effort, so there are a couple ways you can support the show. First, leaving a rating and review is amazing because it helps other people like you find the podcast. So if you have an iPhone, you can hop on over to the podcast app, tap the album art for my podcast, Digitally Overwhelmed, tap the reviews tab, and then there you can write a little review. So if you don't have an iPhone like me, you have to go to the iTunes store through your computer and find the podcast and leave me a review there. Otherwise, just leave me a review through whatever podcasting platform you're listening to the podcast on. This is super awesome. Thank you so much. Also, if you found the information in this episode helpful, feel free to share it with someone you think would benefit it. You can do this either just telling them, or you can also share with them the link digimorphs.com/podcast. And there you can find all the episodes. You can listen to them online as well. And lastly, if you do want more information about the podcast, about me, about Digimorphs, get full show notes, maybe a link that someone mentioned, head on over to digimorphs.com/podcast. You can search for this episode and previous episodes and get all the info you want. Thank you again so much for listening, and see you next week.